This movie is so fucking good. Okay, I feel like I gotta throw some context on that for those of you who are new viewers now that I'm here and very excited to be on Geek.com. I fucking hate the Star Trek reboots. Both of them. I mean pure, straight, uncut, unabashed, unadulterated, unmitigated hate for both of them and everything they represent top to bottom. I hate the new continuity. I hate spending the whole first fucking movie justifying the new continuity. I hate reworking Kirk into a generic douchebag with daddy issues. I hate the god-awful truther conspiracy horseshit and Into Darkness. I hate trying to crib from Wrath of Khan. I hate the magic blood. I hate the lens flares. I hate that everything looks like a fucking Apple store. I hate they wasted the time of a bunch of promising young actors and Chris Pine. And I'm profoundly sick of J.J. Abrams and his goddamn mystery box. Bottom line, I was over and done with this franchise way before everyone else was midway through the second one, and we're getting a new TV show in the original timeline, so who fucking cares at this point? Thusly, I went into Star Trek Beyond with about the biggest chip on my shoulder that one can have and still meaningfully function as an objective critic. And from frame one, I was knocked out of that headspace and hooked. Star Trek Beyond is the real deal. It's a great summer blockbuster. It's as worthy an entry in the Star Trek canon as we've had since probably The Voyage Home, if I'm being honest. It's a great sci-fi blockbuster in its own right and just a flat-out good movie. Not perfect, short of a classic maybe, but especially this year, it goes over like gangbusters. And it's not just a matter of it taking 3 times for the reboot concept to gel, because the smartest thing Beyond does is act like the other 2 movies did not happen. There's some minor references to plot stuff as it references for the characters, and you know they had to do some house cleaning because unfortunately Leonard Nimoy passed away. But otherwise, this could easily have been the first movie, and frankly, I'm just gonna kind of pretend it was if it's all the same. Because from the get-go, everything that sucked about the other reboot movies is gone. There's no garbage mystery box, there's no dumb conspiracy plot. Michael Giacchino's score, the only non-cast related thing that was good in the previous movies, is used to much greater effect. The cinematography is better, no more fucking lens flares, and the design and aesthetic are colorful, vibrant, and awe-inspiring in that weird retro pop way that Kirk-era Star Trek works best in. In terms of overall effect, it's probably the closest any Star Trek movie has come to being a big-budget version of the original series, as opposed to the original 6 movies, which were more like a continuation in the aftermath of the original series. And in that respect, it's kind of the Star Trek movie I've always wanted and never really got. A big-scale realization of that huge, imaginative, adventurous, quasi-utopian space race era sense of optimism and wonder and possibility brought to life as a reflection of how you remember shows like that to feel in the dream space, where you can look past the cheap sets and the studio backdrops. And given the fucking artistic violation that the first 2 reboots committed to that vision, just getting the feel of it right would have been improvement enough, but there's actually a reason for it. See, the movie wisely spends most of the first act not just expertly reacquainting us with the characters in their world, but also deliberately lavishing visual and narrative attention on this new Federation deep space colony thing that's at the focus of the plot, with its majestic technological achievement, diversity of culture, and overall fusion of social and scientific progress as a crystallization of the idealized vision of a better future that Star Trek at its core has always been about. And it does such a bang-up job of doing so that when Idris Elba shows up as the new bad guy Krall, the plot can swing straight into action, because all we need to know is that he very specifically wants to destroy that thing and those people, and we're sold. That's all we need to know to be immediately invested in this plot, which is also why it's okay that the actual plot itself is pretty much back to basics. Krall is hunting for some ancient superweapon thingy that just happens to be in the Enterprise's MacGuffin collection, so he manipulates them to scuttling the ship on a wasteland planet he controls, which leads the crew to be split up into several different scattered away teams that have to find their way back together and thwart the evil plan in a conflict that pits the Federation ideals of a diplomatic, unity-focused future against the more conflict-driven, macho military sci-fi ideal embodied by Krall and his henchmen, who look very much like something out of Halo. I can't believe that would be an accident. So it's boilerplate Star Trek stuff, yeah, but it works because it allows Justin Lin to do what he does best as a director: use big action as a showcase for character dynamics. Now, look, Lin is the guy who's pretty much made his name by turning Fast and Furious from a bullshit late 90s bro drama waste of time into a franchise that it's something like an over-the-top superhero series, but while he's unquestionably a top-level action stylist, the true strength he brought to that series was juggling characters and relationships through narrative, and the main thing that makes Simon Pegg and Doug Young's screenplay for this one so much better than the dogshit Ursi, Kortzman, and Lindelof scripts the previous films had to deal with is that they've conceived a genuine ensemble piece rather than another tiresome hero's journey for Kirk. Which is doubly helpful because Chris Pine is still the weak link of the whole undertaking, sadly. The guy's just not that good. Instead, what we get is a first Star Trek movie in ages that really feels like it's about the whole crew in both a literal and thematic sense. Everyone is pretty much on equal footing, and the variety of sub-stories at play makes the whole thing feel big, even though it really only takes place in a handful of locations. Now, it's not a perfect movie by any means. It moves a little too fast, a handful of scenes feel like they could have used more connective tissue, and while Lin does some amazing things with digital camera moves to create inventive action scenes built around the idea of relative artificial gravity in space, there are a few times during just the regular scenes where you wish he'd do a simple shot, reverse shot, rather than swooping the camera around all the time. It also feels like it's been cut down from a longer running time and could have benefited from a little more space between scenes here and there, but then again, if the main criticism you have of a movie is that it's not long enough, that usually means it's a pretty fucking good movie. But you know, as much as I like this, I'm also kind of pissed off because, you know, this should have been the first movie. They finally figured out how to do this stuff well, and it's almost a decade later, and these people probably want to leave and do different movies soon. I mean, damn it, we could have had this all along. Think of what we missed. But bottom line, Star Trek Beyond caught me completely by surprise and knocked me on my ass. 3.5 stars, awesome, recommended, live long and prosper.